So obviously I want to add to my video about working at an international school for 17 years, and I was overly praising this organization, which is my personal experience, right? I had a ton of fun getting to know people from all over the world. I learned so much because I've always loved literature, and I did work as a literature teacher for the last 8 years of me working there. Actually, not exactly the last year and a half. I did something else, but I did work as a literature teacher for eight years out of those 17. And I really loved it. This was my absolute favorite thing to do. I still do it to this day as a private tutor. And this is my favorite thing, honestly, is one of my favorite things in the world is to read and talk to people about what I read. This is part of the reason why I decided to start a YouTube channel. I actually wanted to do that back when I was teaching. I thought I would start making videos about some of the works that I was teaching at my school. But other than that, the experience that I had at this workplace that I really wish more people learned about is just this discrepancy between the pay of the local workers and the foreign hires, as we used to call them. And this is something that I already covered, but this goes beyond just simple pay gap. It is the fact that the people who were invited to come from the United States to work here, they were provided with free housing. Their utilities, I think, partially were paid as well. They were provided with flights, with flight money back and forth. They were provided with a great health insurance. They were also provided with free tuition for their children. So families were encouraged to come where both the husband and the wife were teachers, and then their children would attend school for free. Even if a single parent came in, the tuition would be covered. Now, for local workers, this actually became a huge point of contention because a lot of local teachers also wanted their children to study at the school, and they used this, okay, allegedly, I think that they used this as a manipulation technique. The administration of the school, again, allegedly, used this as a manipulation technique in order to keep the teachers, the workers, where they belong. Meaning that they would use this privilege of having a child attend this school in order to stop the workers, the teachers, advocating for their own rights. Because they would always remind them of how, see, your child is able to attend the school, it is such a prestigious school, everybody wants to get here, and you don't even have to pay much. They would not provide it completely for free for locals. They would have to pay a significantly subsidized sum of money because the school was expensive, okay? It was like $25,000 plus a year, starting at kindergarten, starting at 3 years old, up to grade 12. This was the tuition. It differed slightly in the past. It was a little bit cheaper, but I think it's closer to 25K a year now, 25 grand a year, which is insane, which is how much some people pay for their universities, very prestigious ones as well. So I think that the fact that the children of the locals were not given the same kind of privileges as the children of the expat community. I understand, of course, that the children of the Americans could not go to local schools because they did not speak the language, etc., etc. But you know, they also did not have to come as people, right? They did not have to travel to a different country to work as teachers. It's not like teachers are not needed anywhere. Like, there is a crisis because teachers are underappreciated, underpaid all over the world. So fewer and fewer people want to do this job. So obviously there is no lack of need all over the world. So if you choose to come somewhere, why would we, the local workers, have to carry the burden of your children? Again, I'm very glad that I have met a lot of these international students. I don't hold it against them. I think that children should not be paying for the sins of their fathers, whatever. I think that the children cannot be held accountable for such things or responsible for such things. But I do think it was very hypocritical of the administration to only offer this perk to the foreign hires. I've never had children. I'm not going to have children ever. I've never thought that my children would need to attend the school. However, I still saw this as an injustice. And also, we did not have insurance coverage. We did not have any kind of benefits at all. we did not have any benefits at all. Of course, we had the same days off as everybody else just because it's mandated. Some things are mandated by our government locally, but some things were mandated by the school's policies because they were a part of the international chain as well. So I understand that. However, again, my criticism is not me complaining because I did not get the same stuff. I personally, for many, many years, I did not care that I was not getting paid enough. I did not care about many of these things because I was afraid to face reality. I was afraid to learn how my wages are being stolen, basically. And after I read Marx and understood what the surplus value is and where it's going and where it comes from, this is when I realized that not only we are on the surface being discriminated against by being paid less just because we're locals, but we're also discriminated against as workers as a whole. So the American workers that worked at our school were also exploited. They were given all these benefits and this pay that was significantly higher for them here because the cost of living here is much lower than in the United States. So having an average teacher's salary here, they could live very differently. They could live a very nice, cozy, comfortable lifestyle. They could travel. They could afford all kinds of little luxuries without even thinking about it, and with saving up significant amounts of money to retire earlier. So it was a very sweet deal for them. It is still a very sweet deal. Of course, it comes with, difficulties of living in a different country, or, accommodating all kinds of people internationally. It is not easy. I'm not saying that my American colleagues were not great professionals. I have learned so much from a lot of American teachers. However, the fact that even their labor, their surplus value was stolen at our workplace. And it's not because our workplace was uniquely evil. This is because this is how capitalism works, okay? If your institution, if your organization does not follow the rules of the profit, they're going to be out-competed out of the market. The organization of such kind is going to go bankrupt or is going to exist barely surviving. So if an organization wants to establish itself and wants to survive and flourish, then it has to compete according to the capitalist rules and laws. And the main law of capitalism is profit. So to get profit, you have to steal the workers' wages. That's it. There is no other way. You cannot save up on the vast majority of materials because they have a concrete cost. Even though, again, the workers' labor is still stolen in the process of, creating materials, mining for materials, getting materials, etc. But still, there are certain things you cannot skimp on, but you can always skimp on labor. And this is what capitalists have been doing for years and years, for hundreds of years now. And this is why no organization is going to be exempt. And many people don't understand that the teacher's labor, the educator's labor, it is a service. So it is consumed at the same time as it is produced. As I was teaching my students something, immediately they would receive some kind of value. Yeah, there is a bit of an argument to have here about what kind of value that is, how exactly it is retained, what is my role as an educator in the children's getting the education, etc. All of these are more like cognitive science type of conversations. But if we talk about the services providing value, the services are the same as any kind of labor. It is only that the consumption of this labor happens at the same time as the labor is produced. It's the same as, let's say, hairdressers. When a hairdresser does stuff to your hair, this is when the value is produced. And when the hairdresser is done, your head of hair, or lack thereof, is the finished product. It is not the good that you can physically take home with you, but it is something that's on your head. And with a teacher, it is something that's in your head after you have attended enough classes, after you have done the suggested material coursework. This is when you get your product. Your product's going to be this knowledge and the ability to apply this knowledge in a given framework. So this is how teachers generate value very, very generally. generally explained, but the teachers' labor is still stolen just like any workers. It is still they're still not being compensated fairly, because imagine if there was a teachers collective who decided to teach the students directly without an organization of any sort, being the middleman. And then imagine if these teachers would take in tuition. Then they would divide this tuition based on effort, right? Based on the amount of man hours that every single individual has put in. And of course, they would split the cost of things like electricity, maintaining the building, maintaining of all the infrastructure, materials, cost of books, etc., etc. So all of this would be taken into account. But then the teachers would take away all that pay, right, for themselves. This is how a workers' co-op can work. Unfortunately, however, because of the nature of education under capitalism, because the state has mandated the power over who can teach and who cannot, like the governments give out licenses, the governments overlook schools, you've got to follow regulations, which is good. Generally, I think that schools must follow regulations and laws, which some organizations don't really like doing, but that's a conversation for a different day. So when I realized as a teacher that my labor was stolen, just like any other proletarian, then I could not stand it anymore. Then when people started talking about injustices, they started talking about all the little things that constituted their workday, about how they were not, even given an hour to have lunch on certain days. Some teachers talked about how some of the foreign staff were rude to them, etc., etc. When all of these little things came into play, I just blew up, and I knew that we had to do something. So this is when we started collaborating, some of my co-workers and I started collaborating to create a teachers union, and it was successful and unsuccessful at the same time. I have a union playlist here if you're interested. Again, no names of organizations are going to be shared, no locations, because it doesn't really matter. Most organizations nowadays are going to act very similarly. Union busting is not exclusive to international organizations or international schools. Union busting is going to be present while we still live under capitalism. Unionizing is necessary for many different reasons, but it is not the end goal. It is just one of the tools in our toolbox. So if you're interested in learning more, let me know. I hope you have a great day today. Consider supporting me on Patreon. Do take care of yourself and your community first. Subscribe to me on all the other social medias, even though I don't do much there, and I'll talk to you sometime later.